We're live.
All right. Hey, look at that.
All
No
right.
countdown or nothing. Just right into it.
You
Okay.
know,
That's what
sometimes,
happens. That's what happens when you trust Candido Diaz to the
that's right.
controls, right?
You
Never let this
should
man fly your airplane. Uh,
always trust a guy from Boston. What can I
man,
say?
just go right into it. All right. Well,
So what's
hello.
going on?
Not much. Not much. I feel a little out of sorts for not
Yeah,
having been on the show for like 2 weeks, right? It's,
I know. And we didn't have that awesome pump up music to get us
yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Completely my fault. Usually
Usually is.
Sean is the one that presses the button, but well, sometimes it's just the way it goes. So
That's just the way
welcome.
it is.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Welcome everybody to the Relo Show. We are live just like every single Tuesday at this time. We have Mark Sullivan. Sean Richard will be joining us soon, and I am Candido Diaz. We are three guys from across the country. We get together every single week, hold each other accountable, and talk about what's going on right now. So, let's start, as we always do, with wins and losses. Mark, what do you got for us?
Outside of the fact that I spent all of last week sitting on the beach, which was a massive
Huge win.
win, which was really, it's like, and I bring it up because it's a really big win for just my mental state. Like it's, I come back, I'm refreshed. You know, I've kind of stepped away from it a little bit so that when I sit back down, I'm ready to roll. Highly suggest that, you know, if you haven't done it, do it. But really refreshed. Honestly, I spent this is last couple days back, really hitting it hard, hitting social media the right way, reaching out, making calls. The calls are way easier to make when I start off by going, "Hey, did I miss anything while I was at the beach last week?" But hit the calls. I made about 100 calls yesterday. Which is way over my norm. I just kept going, hit the whole database. I usually do about 10 or 15, just trying to create some. You know, my goal is usually to have about 5 to 7 actual conversations throughout the day. But I made close to 100 phone calls yesterday. That mostly voicemails and stuff like that. But I'm going to call that a big win just to get back in the groove of things. Shot some videos that will be on social media later. Things like that. Losses, honestly, you know, my pipeline's low. I use that I've used that every week for the last year, but my pipeline's low, lower than I want it to be, and but I do believe that if I keep grinding and I keep doing the things that I'm supposed to do, that will change and things will be hunky dory again. What about you, Candido?
Well, I'm just happy for your losses for the week. You didn't say that you broke the camera while filming for socials. That's good, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
that's
Yeah.
that's a plus.
Mhm.
So yeah, for my positives and I guess negatives for the week, all has to do around the game of golf. So I help run the a local chamber that I've been a part of for a long time. I help run the golf tournament to help raise money for scholarships that we give away every year. So,
Very
been
cool.
doing that for about 5 years. It's been going on. You know, there's probably about 5 months of planning that goes into it. So it's, I mean, it almost takes up half of a year. So I'm actually excited that it's over, but it was a fantastic event. You know, we raised a ton of money. We had 23 teams. It was a fantastic day. It was over 80 degrees here, completely sunny. Obviously, I was in charge of the weather. Yeah, but honestly, it was a fantastic event, and it couldn't have gone any better. The negatives for the week: I still suck at golf. I got to be honest.
Me too.
um, I started off pretty good, but yeah, it didn't end so great. But regardless, we had a great time, and money was raised for the high school students that we give the scholarships to. So can't really complain. It was a lot of fun to get out there, but yeah, negative for the week. I still suck at golf. So what can you do?
Yeah, I suck at golf too. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm actually I am a member of a club that I rarely golf at, and it did not make me any better at golf. My brother's really good though, so
Oh,
that makes it worse because
that
they're
makes it
awesome,
worse. Okay.
and I just kind of yeah.
Yeah. What can you do? So, yeah,
I
you want.
Sean is knocking on the door here. You talk while I try to get him in.
All right. Perfect. So, this week, let's see. We are going to chat about one of my favorite things, social media. And more specifically, though, things like creating a plan, content calendar, mapping out really your strategy to help determine which platforms you want to utilize. So we're going to kind of dive into that a bit and kind of go into how we go about having the process of being able to create a plan for social media. So Mark, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. We've touched this topic before, and a lot of times it stems around content. It stems around how to create the content and how to do that stuff. And I think what we haven't talked about much is the overall strategy. What you do, what goes into creating that strategy and things like that, right? So I will go over just a quick, in a nutshell, some things that I think about whenever I'm going over that. I know you are way more organized in what you do. You have more of a theme to a lot of your videos. I'm kind of shoot from the hip on that kind of stuff. But for me, I guess the biggest mindset point that I have when it comes to the social media strategy is that the actual content of the videos being made matters less than anything else. What is actually being talked about matters very little, and I'll break that down a little bit more. But the obviously talking about something, what you're talking about is important to the point where you want people to continue to listen to what you're talking about, right? But 9 times out of 10, whenever they get done with that video, they're not going to remember a thing you just said, right? What they're going to remember is that you made a video about mortgages or real estate or insurance, whatever it is that you do for a living. What they remember is that they saw you do a video about real estate. And that is the important part, because my strategy is almost completely built around just marketing to my sphere of influence, right? And that's my main focus. There's a few people that I really like that talk about this stuff. One of Mike Cuevas was speaking, and then he reinforced this in a call that we had recently. And I talked about this on the show. But one of my favorite things that he talks about whenever he's talking in front of a group is that he'll pick on somebody and say, "Hey, how many minutes or how many hours do you spend every single day going through your looking at reels, watching reels and stories and stuff like that on social media?" And usually the consensus is people spend anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour watching reels, just flipping through, just womp, 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 womp. And I agree with that. I probably do the same thing. I'll sit there on my couch and I'll flip through about 15 to 30 minutes worth of reels of just comedy stuff. Honestly, I got to stop. The fact that the collective logo is completely blocking Candido's face makes the show so much better. It's just the overall, anyway. But anyway, now I got myself off kilter here. But so you say, okay, cool, and he'll stop and he'll say, all right, so yesterday it's fair to say you watched about 30 minutes to 45 minutes worth of reels, right? And the person's like, yeah, like, cool. What's your favorite one? What was your favorite one yesterday? And almost every time, and I've done this, in real life as well. Almost every time they can't say it. They can't pick out what their favorite one was. Remember, they spent an hour yesterday, and they spent an hour the day before, and an hour the day before, just mindlessly watching reels, and they can't even remember one, right? The content doesn't matter as much as the fact that you're actually doing the video. So whenever I run into somebody at the grocery store or wherever, I get it all the time where people are like, hey, I see your content. Hey, I see your videos. That's awesome. That's 90% of the goal. That's what I want. I want them thinking about the fact that I do content for mortgages and I do content for real estate. If I would say, thanks, Trey, I appreciate you remembering that. Which of my videos was your favorite? He wouldn't be able to tell me, right? He doesn't remember. As soon as the video's over, they've completely forgotten about everything that you say, right? So that's a really long way to say that my main strategy is just to get my sphere of influence to say,
that was perfect.
What?
The suspense is killing me.
You froze, Mark. Yeah. Right at the perfect time. Shout out to Trey, whoever he is that watched Mark's content. But yeah, it looks like Mark's having some issues here. So I think welcome to the show, Sean. I know
Thanks, glad to be here.
It seems like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we're looks like Mark's back. Look, we just are kind of introducing the topic for today. I think, Mark, you made a great point. It's not always about the content, but people do also remember your videos, especially if they're good or if they're entertained in one way or another. So there's different styles. And there's different ways to go about it. For myself, as far as the way that, I try to come up with a strategy. Just like you were talking about at the beginning, Mark. You definitely need to engage. It's great that you're going through and consuming content, but as some of our people in the collective like to say, social media is about being social. So you're going to get what you put into it, right? And you definitely want to, the more that you can go ahead and engage with others, that's what is going to help people engage with your content as well. So definitely something that's worthwhile, I'd say doing on at least a daily basis. Maybe start with 10 minutes on a preferred platform of your choice. I usually do about 30 minutes every single day, and I just take that time to engage with other people's content. And, I think it's also a good practice to help serve as inspiration as well, right? I always say, steal like an artist. Well, you can often get a lot of good ideas by going through, other people's content and engaging. Don't obviously steal word for word an idea off somebody, but there's, well, yeah. There's definitely a lot of good that can come from being able to engage with others, making that a prominent strategy for yourself moving forward. Sean, what do you have as far as going about the subject?
Yeah, what are we talking about today, guys? No, I'm just kidding. So when it comes to social media, when we were kind of mapping out, today's episode, and I was really like, okay, well, I think everybody's kind of been beat over the head by, social media as far as like content creation. So I really thought that, hey, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of creating a social media strategy, right? Like the not just the, hey, here's content to create, but really the strategy behind it. So, what platforms make the most sense. So I'll say it right now, like, you don't have to be on every platform. If you tend to gravitate to Facebook and Instagram, or if you tend to gravitate towards TikTok, or if you tend to gravitate towards YouTube, ultimately we need to be where our audience is. And if your audience tends to be primarily on a specific platform, then that's where you need to be. Now, if you're creating the content already, then there's the argument that, well, if you've already created the content, why not put it on all the platforms to maximize exposure? And that's definitely a valid argument. But when it comes to the platforms, use what you like and use where your audience is. I do tend to post on 4 major platforms. I post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I really don't do a lot on LinkedIn, although LinkedIn, I feel, is a very untapped market. Not as many people are leveraging LinkedIn as could be and should be. So LinkedIn's an opportunity, but it's not something that I'm actively doing a lot of. So determining what platform that you want to be present on, and then really breaking down and creating a content calendar. Like, so real quick, Candido, Mark, do either of you guys have like a mapped out content calendar that you leverage to dictate kind of your posting strategy, habits, timing, things like that?
I don't necessarily have a calendar per se, but I do have a running list of ideas. I have a running list of topics that I pull from. So I'm not starting from scratch whenever I'm doing it. I just have I've done the calendar thing and I just miss them. So it works better for my strategy to set a goal of posting a certain amount of videos each week, creating the videos each week. And at the beginning of the week, when I'm creating my schedule, I'll time block when I'm going to do that. But my running list of ideas is what I pull from mainly. For me, it doesn't really work the way I run my business, but I know a lot of people do and do.
But I think it depends on how you create content, right? So there's, in my mind, there's 2 primary ways to create content. There's, the kind of the spur of the moment, as you have the idea, create the content, kind of fly by the seat of your Candido. And so then there's also the batching content, right? It's like, okay, every Monday from this time to this time, I'm going to record, as much content as I can. And so, like, having a calendar, as I'm saying it and thinking about it, having a calendar does tend to work better for those who batch, in my opinion, because you can batch, let's say 10, 15, 20 videos. And then you say, okay, well, these 5 videos are about this topic. These 3 videos are this style or this topic. And then you say, okay, well, now I've got this calendar of what type of content I want to put out at what frequency and when during the month. And then you can just take from the content that you've created and drop it in the scheduling that matches your calendar. So I think the batching of content does cater better to having a detailed, outlined social media calendar. But that, and utilizing things like ChatGPT to help create that type of calendar is also pretty good. I've developed a ChatGPT prompt that I give to real estate agents that help them create a social media calendar. So there's some tools and resources that we can use to help with that. But guys, Candido. So talking about, go ahead, talk about timing and strategy behind it.
I would say I kind of do a combination of both. So, the 3, I guess, main platforms that I use are Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And I would say my favorite one is Instagram. I would say the one I get the most engagement on is Facebook. So, it's as far as a calendar, I don't necessarily use a calendar, but I do use a specific cadence. Now, what I mean by that is I actually go about it on Instagram, because on Instagram, you have it goes line by line, 3 posts at a time. So what I'll do is every 6 posts, you will see the same sort of post, right? So I
Same
do.
style of posts, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
same typical style of it, and I have a few different series that I do on every 6 posts. Like I'll be filming right after this a picnic table video, and it's I'll probably post it today, but I already know exactly what I'm going to say, right? So while yes, I do sometimes like to fly by the seat of my pants and shoot from the hip, I do have a specific specific set of things that I'm posting on a consistent basis. And to be honest, I'm using a lot of that same content on Facebook and on TikTok. So for me, I use Instagram to actually help me stay organized, and that's what works, right? It's one of those things where I get people all the time in real life, telling me, "Oh yeah, is your coffee hot?" or whatever. They saw me doing something silly or whatever. As long as they remember something from the video, that's all I really care about. I do care that they know what I do, and every now and again, I like to know that they're listening or paying attention. But the point of it is, yes, I do think it's really important to, if you don't have a calendar, to have some sort of cadence, so that way you're a little bit more organized, and it helps you stay. To me, it really helps with, okay, what am I going to be posting today, tomorrow, the next day? Well, for me, I just go to my Instagram. Okay, so today I have the picnic table. Tomorrow I'll probably do either a video or some pictures from the golf tournament. Okay, then after that is a review, and so on and so forth. So, that's what really helps me stay organized, and it's something that works for me. To each their own, but I know it helps me stay organized.
Mark's over there moving.
Yeah, it's okay.
I want to take. I wanted to. I want to talk about the 3 E's of content. So, like, when it comes to what type of content. So, if any of you tuning in right now are not creating content, I think step one is what type of content you want to create. And in my opinion, it boils down to 3 main categories. It's the 3 E's of content. So it's the first is educate. And so creating content that educates your audience, really important. I think that's a phenomenal start as subject matter experts, whether you're a real estate agent or a loan officer. As subject matter experts, it should be pretty easy for us to educate. And education content can be something as simple as, take note of some of the common questions that you're getting asked by clients, and then turn around and make content about it. The second E is entertain, right? So are we entertaining our audience? Candido, this is his bread and butter. He likes to entertain his audience with funny, quick-witted. He's doing these fun little reels of real estate. I say little fun reels of real estate, where he's taken real situations, turned them into fun fun videos, and he does an incredible job of entertaining his audience. And then the third E would be to encourage. And so, encouraging your audience towards their goals, encouraging your audience towards success, encouraging them with positive mindset. And that can be, industry related or non-industry related, depending on how you want to approach that. And then, of course, you have always the option to combine these E's into different ways. You can easily educate and entertain at the same time. Candido, a lot of times his videos are educating and entertaining at the same time.
Edutain.
Mark, yeah, edutainment, right? Mark does a fantastic job of educating, his audience with his videos. He does a lot of great structured educational type content. And so figuring out where in those 3 E's you want to be, whether it's all of them, some of them, one of them, is a great place to start if you're not already doing content, or if you're already doing content, but you feel like you're just kind of all over the place, right? Like you're shotgunning it. Then helping to narrow that down and map out your strategy. Say, okay, well, these are the 3 main categories of content that makes sense. Where do I really fit, or where do I want to fit in these categories? I don't know, you guys, what's thoughts, take on that style of content focus to simplify the process?
Yeah, for sure. One, I agree that you're either educating or you're entertaining, right? And that's honestly the main focus that, when we talk about, how you're going to create your strategy, is you want to be one of those 2 things. Very rarely is somebody not everybody can be Candido, right? Not everybody can educate and entertain.
Nobody else is Candido. We know
Right.
this.
But I am going to stop.
Actually, my dad is.
I'm actually going to stop calling my pants and start calling them Candido, like Sean just referenced earlier, flying by the seat of our Candido. But one thing that I really like, I want to go back to, it was in my head. In my head, it was great. The actual implementation of that joke just fell flat on my face, but it's okay. It's okay.
Poor execution. It's all good.
The execution was awful. But that's what happens when you're on live video. But one of the things I want to go back to is actually publishing the content. And what I'm a big believer in, put it on everything, right? But if you have the account, put it on there. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you have, put it on there. One thing that a lot of people forget, though, is you want to put this in front of your audience, right? You make a video, you probably spent, if you're really good at it, you still spent 30 minutes doing it. If you're not that good at it, you spent an hour or 2 hours doing it. You put a lot of time into this, and you're just going to throw it up on a reel and call it a day, put a little comment to it. Don't do that. Put it in your email blasts, right? Especially if you've got great content in that video, put it in your email blast. Write something about it, and take a little screenshot of your video. You could do kind of like a BombBomb type of thing. If you don't have BombBomb, right? Put it in a BombBomb and send it out if you have that. But do a little screenshot, a little image that you put into that email, and when they click on it, it takes them to Instagram, the Instagram post that you make, or it takes them to that Facebook reel that you made. And you're just putting more and more and more people on it. And when you send them an email, you can say, hey, check out this reel I make. Don't forget to give me a like, right? And you can put that in the email without sending the algorithm of Facebook all crazy if you put it in their comments or whatever. But I like to do that as touch points, right? If I make 3 videos in a week, one of them at least is going out in an email to my database, whether it's referral partners or it's consumers or past clients. They're getting that, and I'm sending a specific touch to them, and it's a little more what's the word I'm looking for? It's more intentional about actually hitting the people that I wanted to hit. And most people miss that, and it's really important about content creation.
Well, and Mark, that's a really good point. And this is probably, we could go on a tangent on this topic, but, all of the strategies that we use to take care of our clients, to generate business, the more integrated that we can have in those strategies, like the more cohesive we can have in those strategies, or the more cohesion we can have in those strategies, the better each of those strategies are going to be, right? Like if you've made content about specific post-closing questions, if you've made content about in-process questions, if you've made content about, the top 5 mistakes first-time home buyers make, right? Your contacts probably want to know or have those same questions. And so distributing your content that you're already creating in other distribution methods, Mark, exactly like you just said, man, like taking your content, sending it out in a blast email. If you've got, automation going out in your process, shoot, I mean, just as an example, right? Why not have an automated email go out after your client applies that says, hey, thrilled to have you as part of, thrilled to be helping you through this journey. Hey, here are the top 5 questions that I get from clients, and it's links to videos that you've done. It's not just the question and the answer, it's a link to your content. And now all of a sudden you're creating much more viewership on your content. And that's going to boost and accelerate the exposure as well.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, for sure.
And what I would say, lastly here, is go with what works. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to take a look at, afterwards, I think it's extremely important to take a look at the insights, right? I know in the past we've gone through and shown you exactly what to look for as far as insights on Facebook and Instagram. So, go with what works. Go with what's been creating engagement. Go with, hey, you just saw, John at the store, and he brought up, one of the videos you did last week. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that got his attention. That, kind of put that in your memory bank. See if you can create more videos like that. I think that's so important. Not enough people go back to what was working, kind of assess these types of videos or this type of content seems to be what my group of followers tend to like. And what works for me may not necessarily work for Mark, or will work for Sean. It's very different from person to person to person. So definitely, after you've done all that hard work and you've actually posted whatever content, go back, make sure that you're assessing, what videos in what content you've had success with in the past, so that way you can create more opportunities for the future.
Yeah, don't fix it if it's not broken, right? Like, look at what's doing well and find ways that you can recreate that type of content. Whether it's taking very similar content and kind of remixing it a little bit, or whether it's taking new content and making it, very similar to the content that you're having success with. That's really important. Guys, before I got a chance to hop on, I think you guys were talking about engaging in other people's posts as well, other people's content. And since I missed it, I just want to throw a couple of my, 2 cents out there on that. That, in my opinion, is one of the most critical components of a social media strategy. It's not just about the content you're creating, but it's about the engagement that we have as well. And, as an example, I've been proactively working to engage in 10 to 15 pieces of content created by other people on a daily basis. And it's created so much more return engagement. But on top of that, I pay for Meta Verified. So Instagram, on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm Meta Verified. If you're going to be serious about a social media strategy, I do highly recommend getting Meta Verified, and you guys can comment on that. But it puts your engagement to the top. So when you comment other people's posts, it puts that to the top. When you post content, it puts that towards the top of people's feeds over people who aren't over content that's not verified. And so that's a big important aspect as well. But engaging in other people's posts, not only are the people that you're engaging with typically going to engage back with you, but you're also showing that you are a thought leader. So like when you're engaging in somebody's post, don't be just like, oh, congrats. Like that doesn't add really value to anything. Obviously you can congratulate somebody, but it doesn't add nearly as much value. So what you could do is you could say, congratulations on da 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 da, and then right below that, add another 1 or 2 notes that enhance the information. So you're praising the person, you can still praise and congratulate the person that you're trying to do that for, but then you can add your additional thoughts, your original take on the information. And now every person who is reading those comments is now your audience. So somebody else's audience is now becoming your audience. And then what do? They go out and like, oh, this was an interesting comment. They might go look at your profile. And that's where you've got to have a dialed in profile. You've got to make sure that your profile is like your storefront, right? Like that's the first thing people are going to see. Is it going to grab their attention? And so they look at your profile and they start looking at your content. And then ideally they start binging your content and they follow you. And so, you know, the importance of engaging with other people's content to turn their audience into your audience is a critical component of today's social media strategies. I don't know, guys, thoughts?
No, I love that. And, you know, a quick rule of thumb, I really, really hate doing this, but I actually have to give credit to Mark Sullivan. He once said, which probably completely made up, but he once said that, you know, if you post or if you comment on somebody's post and it's less than 5 words, that they're, you know, Instagram, Facebook, they don't really love that. So a good rule of thumb is try and make it more than five words, right? And it's not too hard, but it should make you think other than, oh, congrats, or nice work, good job, right? It should actually help, you know, come up with a little bit more, something that's going to.
How are you enhancing? How are you enhancing with your comments, right? He really just said the 5-word thing because he was trying to help me increase my vocabulary from 4 words.
Yeah, well, I didn't know he had more than 5 words.
Been a work,
but
it's been a work in progress with Sean in his vocabulary, really.
Yeah.
But the
Lo siento, mi amigos.
I would say I think the biggest thing to take from that is really like, what kind of an impact are you leaving if you're just going yay or awesome or you know, whatever it is,
right?
And one thing, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but since we talked about it, Facebook wants you to be Facebook wants your interactions, or not Facebook, any social media. When I say Facebook, I mean social media. All of those companies, they want you to act like you would act in real life. The entire algorithm is based around having you act like you would act in real life. And if you're sitting there talking to somebody in person, you don't give 1-word reactions to things that people say, right? You create conversation. And if you act on social media, pretending like that person was sitting at a table across from you, respond that way. Don't just be like, cool, word. You know,
Mark just told me something awesome. Congrats, and then walk away.
Yeah, peace out, and then don't talk to them for 3 weeks, right? Yeah, like that's not how people handle real life interactions, and that's not how you handle it on Facebook either. I did the 5-word thing. I'm pretty sure I heard that from somebody else that may have just made that up, but I think it's a good way to live by. And
good rule of thumb. Good rule of thumb.
I like it
for sure.
All right, fellas.
Sure.
So, hey, I mean, guys, you want to put it out there? If anybody, you know, has questions about really, you know, nailing down a social media strategy, you want to let them reach out to us?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. Reach out to Sean. Reach out to Sean if you have any questions.
Reach out to Sean.
Yeah.
You know, take all my
everybody.
Sure
if you want Sean's calendar link, just reach out to me and I'll send it to you. And just go ahead and book that call. He just sits around and just is begging for people to ask him about this. But in all seriousness, reach out to any of us. We love to talk about this stuff. I will, you know, my parting words are about this stuff is just 80% of all the content that home buyers and home sellers consume on social media is via video. If you're not making video, make video, right? You have exactly one point that hasn't been brought up at all. You have exactly 3 seconds to catch their attention, right? Don't start off by saying, hi, my name is Sean Richard from Guaranteed Rate.
You're done. It's already over. It's already
over. Texas, right? It's gone. Don't start your video by saying, hi, I'm with Exit Realty and I'm at an open house today and look at this awesome house. Or I'm at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 100 square feet, 2,000 square foot house. People don't care. Don't start with that. Start with something that makes them feel something, and you'll get 30 to 40 seconds.
There's a reason the first 3 seconds it's called a hook, right? You got to hook them in.
Right.
Hey, you got to, this is unbelievable. You got to check this out. And then you walk in the house and start showing them the house, right?
Yeah. I love numbered lists. 3 ways to not lose your ass when buying your next home. Stuff like that. It gets them. Don't 100%. Do this. Don't do this. Don't make this mistake. Stuff like that.
Well, make sure that everyone out there, if you haven't already, make sure that you're following Candido, Candid Mortgage Guy, approved with Mark, and I am Will You Mortgage Me. And check us out, follow us, and for great content ideas as well. Reach out if you want to schedule a call, guys. Thank you for letting me in late. I was slacking today.
All good. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, next Tuesday, where hopefully the Celtics are up 3-0. Peace.